My first month in sales, I closed $92,000 in revenue at a 78% closing percentage and set a company record in the process. And I think fundamentally, the only reason I was able to really do that is because I just learned how to connect with every type of person, even people I personally would never hang out with outside of business. In order to do that, I really had to learn how to master the art of building rapport and start understanding the psychology of the human mind when it comes to friendships and building connections. So this brings me back to yesterday where I was training a member of my sales team and I was going over this exact concept of how I mastered the art of rapport and teaching it to him. And I decided, well, fuck it. I might as well post it on YouTube and show you guys how I do it to try to provide as much value as possible. And so these next 7 minutes are basically going to be on the art of how you can build a connection with every single prospect that you come across so that you can make more sales. Directly what I was teaching my own team. And so enjoy. So the first concept we really have to understand is the concept of pinging, right? And what pinging is essentially if you have two people, then the people are always looking at the other person, looking for their social cues subconsciously. So they're looking for their tonality, how their voice changes. They're looking at their pace. They're looking, oh, maybe this person is sweating a little bit. Maybe they are fidgeting. Maybe that tells us that they're a little bit nervous. And we do this without even doing it consciously. It's a subconscious thing that basically gives us social cues and tells us how to react, how to act differently, right? So that's the concept of pinging. And pinging can really work in two ways. And I learned this from the concept of waves, how waves work, like sound waves, any kind of wave. And there's two kinds. There's destructive interference and constructive interference. And so the way that destructive interference works is if there's two different kinds of waves and they collide, they cancel each other out and they both end. But there's a case where those two kinds of waves can be on the same wavelength and they'll combine into a bigger wave, right? And so that's how I understand pinging. And so the way that I kind of use this in my calls and kind of fundamentally use it in sales is that if two people are pinging at different frequencies, so for example, one person, maybe your prospect is getting emotional. They're feeling the pain of their problem. They're getting emotional. And your response back is very casual or very just neutral, very like kind of whatever, then it's not on the same wavelength. And so they're going to cancel each other out. And what that's going to do is make your prospect feel misunderstood. And what does that do? It breaks rapport. And so no wonder when you get on a call and sometimes maybe you open up your prospect a little bit, they feel a little bit of pain, you try to dig deeper, but you can't. And it's because you're not on the same wavelength as them. Now in the other case, constructive interference, this is how you can elevate their feelings. So for example, let's say you're in the solution awareness stage of a sell and you're trying to make them emotional, you're trying to get them to envision this great reality that they could have for themselves. And now they're all happy and they're thinking about how they could change all these lives and support their family, all the people around them, make this massive change in the world. And they're in this very positive state of mind. And your response back is very like, oh, that sounds great. Oh, that's awesome. And what about this? And it's like the two wavelengths don't match, right? And so it's going to get destroyed, and that's destructive. Now, on the opposite side, constructive interference would be, well, what if you respond positively? You're like, oh, wow, dude, I freaking love that. That's from the heart. I freaking love that, dude. And you respond in a way that invigorates them. It excites them. It matches their same energy. Since it's on the same wavelength, instead of canceling each other out like destructive, what it's going to do is it's going to build on top of each other, right? And so, for example, they might be like, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that. And you're like, wow, dude, I freaking love that. And tell me about this. Like, what would you do with that? And it's like that excitement in your voice and how you're sounding will elevate them. It'll elevate their feelings. It'll give them validation. And so that will go a level up. And then because that excitement gets to them, now they're going to elevate even more. They're going to respond back even more excited. And that's how you build the rapport throughout the sale. Because they're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And normal salespeople, the whole time, it's just neutral. It's just casual. But me, I'm elevating. I'm making them feel more pain, feel more pleasure. Which what does it do? It builds the gap in their mind of the pain where they're at now versus the pleasure where they want to be. And when the gap is bigger, what do? They buy more often because they see more value in whatever product or service you're selling. And so this is the principle of constructive or destructive interference and how you can use it in your sales. So now I'll give you guys some examples that I was showing to the member on my sales team that I was training. And so I'll give an example. Let's say we're in solution awareness, right? And somebody tells you, I want to buy a Lamborghini and I want to live in this penthouse and do all this stuff. What does this tell me? The kind of energy that gives you is very like, fuck you money kind of energy. Like, oh, I just want to be rich, like balls around, whatever, right? It's not this like holistic, like beautiful, like, oh, peaceful memory. It's like a very like fuck kind of energy, right? And so what this does is it creates an emotion in their mind as soon as they say that. It's a thought that turns into an emotion. And then emotion is like that invigorating, like fuck you kind of thing, right? And so we have to match it. And so if we need to keep that same kind of emotion, we might be like, fuck yeah, dude. And like with this, what would that look like? Right? And so we're matching that kind of energy. But at the same time, they could still be happy, but in a different way. So let's say that what they're telling us is, yeah, I want to be able to like provide for my whole family, like move them all to this state with me. I want to start like a nonprofit, like a charity to be able to provide and feed thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in third world countries who don't have resources for themselves. That's like a beautiful thing, as opposed to like a fuck you kind of energy. It's like a beautiful thing. So I might be like, oh wow, dude, I love that. And with this, so you see how my tone is matching the feeling that they have. And that's what that's what's called a match plus one. Because the match plus one is we're taking their emotion, which is this initial line right here, and we're plus oneing it. We're adding on to it. Like, oh wow, dude. In like an aspirational tone. And what that does, then they feel the validation, so they return it back even higher, right? And so this is very, very advanced sales. But if you understand this and you're able to comprehend their thoughts, their words that they're giving you, turn it into an emotion, and then elevate it, plus one it, match plus one. Because this could be anger. Another example, let's say somebody has a family member in the hospital. That's a very different energy than if their business isn't getting enough leads, right? But they're both cause them to be sad or mad. They both cause a negative emotion, but we still have to react in different ways to elevate them, right? And so this is the principle of constructive and destructive interference, which has ultimately allowed me to build rapport with so many more people and make them respect me a lot more because they feel more understood when I master emotion. What happens when they feel understood? It builds trust, and trust is rapport. And if they trust me, it's a lot easier for me to pitch them and overcome objections and ultimately close the deal and be able to help that person, serve that person, right? So I hope this training was helpful. Try to keep it very raw, just what I was showing the member of my sales team I was training yesterday. If this was helpful, let me know. I'll do some more of these trainings and replicate what I'm teaching my team. But besides that, boys, have a great rest of your fucking day and take care. Bye.